Good morning. Thank you for your application and interest in serving as a judge. As you know, I'm the chair. My name is Travis Minock. We have 7 commissioners here and 1 appearing by Zoom. This is a civil circuit division in DeLand at the moment. That could change and become civil, family, criminal, anywhere in our circuit. We received 19 applications. We can only certify 6. Why should you make that list?
Well, I think that there are kind of 2 things that help me kind of stand out from the rest of the candidates. Obviously, everybody's a really great candidate. The first being that while I am basically a career government attorney, right? I mean, I started off as the Emory Judicial in private practice, but then I've worked for the Public Defender's Office for the last 15 years. I could easily go on really more than 1 docket. Obviously, criminal law, that kind of goes without saying. I could also go on a delinquency docket because I've been handling delinquency for the last 10 years. Through delinquency, we, I think, consolidated into a unified family docket, I would say maybe 2014. So I've been handling crossover cases with the dependency system. So while I haven't been practicing under a dependency case number, my clients who are dependent children are all within a unified family, and it's kind of all handled at the same time. I have a distant foundation, a foundation in family law. And then over the last year, I have focused on spending time in our civil courtroom, leading up to my interview in October. From February to October, I was mostly shadowing Judge Myers and Judge JNC, kind of in preparation for a possible county civil spot. Because while those were open criminal spots, obviously knowing my position, I would likely be put on the civil spot. And then more recently, I've been spending time in Judge Orfinger's courtroom, who is our circuit civil judge in DeLand, kind of watching him and learning from him and things like that. So I've been actively trying to prepare for those other dockets that I don't currently work on. Unlike a lot of other government attorneys, I do think that I could go onto multiple dockets without it really kind of being a big issue. From a practicality standpoint, I had the honor of obviously being sent up on the short list this past fall. I interviewed with the governor's office in October. So a lot of the work that I put into that, both in preparation for that interview, but also the campaigning part behind it, because it's so recent, I wouldn't have to start back at square one. I could really kind of pick up where I left off in November and expand on the support and the connections that I made within Volusia County, because it was a county spot, kind of expanded across the circuit. So, I mean, I think those are kind of two big things that separate, kind of separate me from some of the other candidates.
As an applicant for judge, you must know the Florida Code of Judicial Conduct. How many times have you read those rules?
Probably once in preparation for my interview up in Tallahassee.
Okay. How many of the 7 canons apply to you currently as a judicial candidate for appointment?
I can't say I know them well enough to have that.
Okay. Your husband recently retired from law enforcement with the DeLand Police Department. I believe you answered in response to some of the questions that may create a conflict. You're currently a PD in DeLand. Wondering, has his employment ever created a conflict for you as a public defender in any case where you or your office may have been defending a case brought by that agency?
So if a case ever came in front of me personally, it would just get reassigned to another attorney. I didn't obviously handle any cases that he was involved with. Our office certainly did. In DeLand, we're talking about DeLand PD, Volusia County Sheriff's Office, Orange City PD, Volusia County Sheriff's Office, probably 75% of the cases that we handle. Delaney PD obviously being a much smaller agency. So it really wasn't something that kind of came up very often. It just got reassigned to somebody else. Going in, now that he's retired, the only kind of lingering cases that he has are all homicides, because he was a homicide detective and then retired as a lieutenant for CID. And so any cases that he was involved in to a point where he would be called in trial or something are all homicide cases. So I don't actively handle those now. Certainly, if I was put on a criminal docket, I wouldn't be able to handle that case.
The nature of just his form of employment, do you think that would impact your ability to be fair and impartial and follow the law should you get this appointment?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I think that, the fact that I've been married to or in a relationship with a police officer the entire time I've been a public defender, if anything, creates a kind of more centralized view on things. I'm able to kind of see things from all perspectives, and I think it gives you a broader base of knowledge and an understanding. I would categorize myself as a pretty central person. I'm a pretty even-keeled person, and I think if anything, having that relationship has kind of would help me be able to see everything from a broader point of view.
Let me ask you, you touched on the fact that you were just sent up into the governor's office. What did you learn from that experience? And what, if you make it this time, what do you think is going to put you across the finish line?
So I learned a lot from the experience. I was admittedly probably pretty green going into it, and I spent some time kind of on the front end after I made the short list, meeting with judges who had been recently appointed, getting advice from them, kind of ideas of the best way to go forward. Having done that already, that's not something I would need to take up time doing. And so I could really kind of go right out the gates, working on everything. There are certainly things as you're kind of going through it that I made mental note of in my head of, if I end up doing this again, maybe I'll do this next time, but you're kind of like mid-effort, so you kind of don't want to change, what you're doing. So there are definitely some things that I made mental note of. This might be a better, way to do things, or just to kind of take yourself to that next level. I knew kind of generally what it would take, and pretty much every judge I met with said, this is going to be like having a second job. And it absolutely is. If you put in, the amount of effort that is required of it, it certainly is. And it's not a campaign, but it is a campaign, and so gathering support and also alternatively preparing for the interview, the questions for that interview. I think that kind of gives me a little bit of an advantage, I was kind of a little bit behind the ball going into the last time because I was so kind of naive to the process, but now having all that knowledge, I think I can kind of start off, right out the gate.
Of the interview, I'm just actually curious.
Sure.
What was the item that kind of caught you the most off guard, was just the most unexpected, such that if you go up again, it won't catch you off guard and you've got an answer?
Sure. Luckily, I really didn't have a question that surprised me. I had talked to, I feel like every judge that existed. I even talked to a judge out in the Panhandle who had just gone through the process, and everybody was so kind and so willing to help, and kind of send you the questions that were asked so you could prepare. And so I had, like a 9-page outline of questions that other people had been asked. And so I really wasn't caught off guard. There was one case they asked me about that I had read in preparation, but in the moment just hadn't retained in my brain. So there's that one case that I came home and then read, you know, but other than that, there wasn't anything that surprised me.
What case was it?
Now you're asking me that.
Try to put it
I
out.
can't remember now, but yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do. I have a practical question. How do you plan to reconcile if a prosecutor seeks a death penalty in a child predator case with precedent saying that it violates the Eighth Amendment?
Well, you know, I think from a practical standpoint, as a new judge on the bench, I probably would meet with my chief judge and discuss that issue. You know, at the point that you're making a ruling on this level, you have to kind of follow what the law is saying in your state, in your circuit at that time, and you just follow it. And it's for another level to decide, so.
There's a number in your application ending in 9413, is that good number to reach you?
Correct.
Let me just follow up on that question.
Sure.
Would you be able to impose the death penalty if you were pursuing on a case and the jury recommended it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, you know, obviously, I don't want to go too deep in, you know, kind of that, but can I, would I, yes, is the short answer, yes.
All right, thank you for your time. Somebody
Thank you.
will contact you.
Thank you, I really appreciate it, and also want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity the last time to go to that.
All right, thank you.